Good morning, good evening, good night, wherever you may be, and welcome to our special edition Open Up Live talk show. My name is Dipchand Ramcharitar. I'm the Outreach and Development Coordinator at Voice of Men 360. We have a very special guest today, Marcus Snow from Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, with an illustrious career and a very unique um, well, I wouldn't say hobby, but a job that he's taken up that involves a lot of people around the world, gives them an opportunity to showcase their talent. So before we get to Marcus, here is a bit more about ourselves. Voice of Men 360 is a non-profit organization founded in 2020 and based in London, Ontario, Canada. Voice of Men 360 was born out of seeing a tremendous need and stepping up to provide services to help support and overcome men and boys' life challenges. We are part of International Men's Day. International Men's Day has been serving for over 25 years and so far in more than 95 countries around the world joined together and doing various activities regularly. International Men's Day follow six pillars, which is for the overall well-being of boys and men. We here at Voice of Men 360 follow in the same footsteps. Well, why open up? Because men, we do not open our hearts and are not willing to share our matters with anyone. When we keep our emotional challenges within ourselves for a longer time, at some point they will explode and it will affect our health conditions in many ways. This is why we want to create an open space and allow individuals to share their life journey through our platform. We aim to create awareness about the life challenges, struggles, overcome, ups and downs that our boys and men go through in their lives. There are no limitations with regard to gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups in sharing your life journey. All walks of life can participate. Our goal is to make a positive impact on someone's life through this program. Open Up is on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Well, obviously today we're doing it at 10 a.m. We bring an individual to each show and let them share their life experiences with you. Before I introduce our special guest for today, I would like to go through our disclaimer. We would like to remind you that Voice of Men 360's mission is always delivered with good faith towards peaceful harmony. The views and opinions expressed in today's episode are those of our speakers and do not represent necessarily Voice of Men 360. Our organization engages in discussion forums to offer inspiration and create awareness of the issues of men who wish to overcome their life challenges. We do not provide medical or therapeutic advice. Should you require that type of assistance, we suggest or recommend you contact a medical professional immediately. If you have any questions or concerns about today's episode or any Voice of Men 360 content, please email us at info@voiceofmen360.org. Now on with today's program. And so our guest, Marcus Snow, has a very unique group that he's developed a system for called iBallin. He was born rather in Joliet, Illinois, United States. Had a very illustrious career in the U.S. military. He's now retired, and he has this, as I said, group called iBallin. Why don't I introduce him and let him give you some more details about that? So, welcome to our show, Marcus. And I would start off, first of all, by asking you, What inspired you to pursue the path you are currently on?
Well, Dipchand, first off, I want to just say thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak with you and your organization. I've had a chance to do a little bit of background on your group, and it looks like you're doing wonderful things. Um,
Thank you.
uh, I will tell you that my desire to give back to my community started about 10 years after I left Joliet, my hometown, and joined the military. For the first decade in the Air Force, um, I was looking for a way to give back to my community, and I've decided that I'm going to spend. I decided to make the military a career and go for 20 years. And so, since I was going to continue on in my military journey, I had to pause on what I would give back to my community. So I decided that when I retired from the Air Force, I would go back to my hometown to open up a youth center. Well, 24 years later, after traveling to more than 30 countries, I've retired from the U.S. Embassy in Malaysia, and therefore my desire to give back to my community, it was still there, but uh, building a youth center, it wasn't in the cards. So after the pandemic occurred, uh, it reminded me how limited time was, and it reignited that passion within me to give back, and which led to the creation of the iBallin brand. iBallin stands for International Ballin. It's an international competition platform. It is my passion project that I cannot escape from, and it's designed to help individuals play locally and win globally, which is our motto. So this is what was my this what was my desire, and this is what put me on the path that I'm on today.
Excellent. Well, you've certainly done a fantastic job, and we commend you for that. So, what are your core values of your current journey?
Oh, the values that I hold dear, that's been such a big part of my life, is steeped from my military career of service before self, which deeply influenced my life then and it does today. I also draw upon inspiration from a poem that I read from since I was a little boy. The poem is called "But I Did" by a poet by the name of Ray N, and it was published in 1979. This poem I returned to as a child, and it captures the essence of overcoming doubt. It was actually written by my mother, Regina Beverly. She's an artist and a published poet. Uh, this poem is actually featured in my new book I published, co-authored earlier this year, Leaders with a Heart. And if you could just indulge me just for one moment, I'd like to share it with your audience. It,
Of
it, it,
course.
go- it goes like this. But I did. I know I said that I never would, but then I thought that I never could, but I did.
Wow. Yeah, that's very inspirational, short and to the point. So
Uh,
that's
yes. Anytime I found I was getting pressure on something, or feel like I couldn't do something, or something new, almost like appearing on this podcast. This is not something I do normally, and if you can't tell, I'm very, very nervous for being on this
we
on
all
this
are.
live this program. So, so this poem still gives me that rock and that foundation to lean on.
Excellent. Very good. What kind of impact have you had on your target audience and the public at large?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, the iBallin brand, we're really just getting started, and we're having an opportunity to reach across um, this beautiful globe of ours that we call the world. Uh, it's hard to imagine the full impact as of yet, but I can share one story that really stands out. One of our first sponsors, we're calling sponsors now team owners, just as a way to bring the community even closer together. But one of our first team owners, was the founder of My Masterman, by a gentleman by the name of Mr. Maury Rossini. He drafted, with his first draft, a player out of Abuja, Nigeria. a young kid, 26 years old, I think, or 24 years old. But this kid went on to win the championship earlier this year. So our first champion in this platform was Lucky Adolaman out of Abuja, Nigeria,
Wow.
drafted to a team that was sponsored by an Italian man living in Malaysia,
Wow.
and Lucky was so honored. He was so overtaken with joy and surprise for this happening. He reached out then directly to Mr. To Mari to thank him for giving him the opportunity, and he shared with Mari, my mastermind founder, what he did with his prize money. At that time, it was only $200, but that's huge money to certain people around the globe. He bought a pair of shoes, new sneakers to continue his basketball training. He bought a membership into his local gym, and he even bought a tripod to continue participating in further iBallin contests. And so this is what iBallin is all about: uplifting communities, making a real difference in people's lives. The heartfelt message I've received from players and parents, even today, even though we're just getting started, it lets me know that I'm on the right track.
Yeah, well, that's a very encouraging story for everyone out there who might be interested in what you have to offer with iBallin. It certainly speaks volumes for what one can achieve through your program. So, kudos to you for bringing out this. I keep saying unique, but it's really a unique opportunity for any individual out there who comes basically from the grassroots, and they can be exposed to pretty much anywhere in the world. They can have their 15 minutes of fame and build on that as they go along in life. So again, a fantastic job that you've done there. Getting
Thank you.
to a more, you're more than welcome. Getting to a more personal level, can you tell us what type of relationship you had growing up with your dad, and how did that impact your future?
Um, this question is actually pretty interesting. I grew up in Joliet, Illinois, and for those who are not familiar with this area, this was in the '70s. It was a pretty tough, relatively tough upbringing. We didn't have much money. I don't want to say that I used to say that we were poor, but then I'm changing because when you're in an environment where you don't have much financial resources, you make other resources. So I write in my book how, when I look back, how wonderful my life was growing up, although we didn't have much money. But further to your point, to your question, my relationship with my father, like many black kids growing up in Joliet, we either didn't know our fathers well or we didn't know our fathers at all. I only met my father uh, about 3 times. Um, I was as a young boy, 7 or 8 years old. I met him for the very first time, and the second time I met him, I was a preteen, and the third time I met him um, was at his funeral as an adult. I was an adult, and we had buried him. But the the little encounters that I had, he made a tremendous impact on my life. Actually, uh, my father was a big man. He was from John Eric Snowden from El Dorado, Arkansas. Um, he had a boyish grin that could light up the room or disarm the hardest of hard thugs. He was like a bear. Uh, he taught me how to shoot a gun. He taught me how to um, play cards and handle cards. But he taught me, most important thing he taught me was the power of communication. And despite he and my mother's not working out, they were separated before I was born. I really did learn at an early age the meaning of family through his new family, which became my stepsisters, my step siblings, and that how to communicate with others was vitally important to a young man's upbringing.
Wow, that's while it's unfortunate that you didn't have more time to spend or spent with him, I can tell that the time that you did have with him was well spent, quality time. That certainly sprung you forward into the man you are. It helped to spring you forward into the man you are today. So, it's we all look forward to our dads as our role models when it comes to discipline, especially how to go out there and face the battles that we need to face, and what resolve we can have within ourselves to hold the fort down when stuff hits the wall. So your father and you, for whatever little time you had together, seems that you learned quite a bit from him. So that's
And
that's that's
yes.
great. Uh, Moving on, what are some of the major problems facing young men in your community, and how best do you believe those could be addressed?
Hmm. You know, I've heard this question before. As when we get to be a certain age, you start to think about these ideas and these concepts. And so I've always thought that in today's modern age, one of the pressing issues facing young men today is how they're disconnected from reality brought on by, the over reliance on technology and social media. You know, in our current digital age, young people increasingly seek validation through likes and shares, comments online. These are often expressed um, these are often disconnections from real world interactions. Uh, while I fully support modern technology, my brand, iBallin, we are harnessing it on social media to its fullest extent. And there are some obvious benefits to it. But I'm concerned, and I've seen the reliance causing young men to lose touch with the importance of face to face communication and the skills needed to navigate the real world. So, I mean, I would say that, you know, virtual validation often gives one a false sense of self worth and leads to issues that we're currently seeing in young people today: anxiety, depression, and just lack of meaningful relationships. Um, but those are some of the problems, right, that happen. So what can we do to address this? I think we need to encourage or young men to balance their online presence with real life interactions. Um, they should engage in community activities, building strong supportive networks like eyeballing, and
Yeah.
learn the real value of in-person communication. This again is one of the things I built eyeballing for, was while we can harness social media and IT, but do it in a physical aspect that bring the two together in a positive way.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I don't know what it's like where you are, but one of the problems that young men face here is that there doesn't seem to be much incentive for them to move forward. And part of that deals with the previous question I asked you, because a lot of young men and women grow up in fatherless homes.
Hmm.
And statistically, that's a disaster. It leads to all kinds of degeneracy, from prostitution to addiction to incarceration, you name it. So, while this may be not proven as a causality, the correlation is there between the two: fatherless homes and delinquent youth. So, that's a big problem here. One of the things we notice as time go by increasingly is that young women occupy more than 65% of university and college places. So
Yeah.
that's a
Wow.
big problem here.
Wow.
There's a lot of incentives for females in terms of scholarships and grants and whatnot. And so again, men are lagging behind. Young men, and then, like I said, with a lack of leadership through their fathers, and they don't seem to have any sort of drive to go forward in life. So that's something that we're looking to address here. We're trying to see how best from take it all the way up to a legislative position and see what can be done about that, if anything. So that's definitely an issue, and that hopefully it can be addressed and soon, because it's becoming a critical problem that we face here. So regarding iBallin, which I'm impressed with, I like their concept, and how and any other projects you may have. How can anyone interested in your work get a hold of you?
Oh, that's easy. I actually do quite a bit of things. I'm a logistician. I do logistics for heads of states here, and we have a travel agency. But honestly, Dipchand, right now, this strong passion of mine is just drawing me towards just doing this eyeballing brand and giving back to these communities. And so, if you want to be involved, if you want to find out what we're doing, you can contact us at our social media platforms. It's at iBallin Official on all social media platforms, at iBallin Official. You can look on our website at internationalballin.com. iBallin stands for International Ballin.
Right.
And then our website. I would like for everyone, please, you can just call me Snow, and the email address is snow@iballinglobal.com. Or you can reach out to my personal email address also, 169@gmail.com.
Fantastic. Well, the more people get exposed or become aware of what you have to offer, obviously it gives them an opportunity to get involved in something that, again, they can certainly benefit from. So it's good that you can share this information for all the people out there and who can obviously develop an interest and move forward with that. I have one final question for you, but before I do, I would just like to run through some additional information about our group, Voice of Men 360. We do have a few live shows. Open Up, that's like sharing your life journey. The live talk show is on Sundays at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. However, the odd time we have it at 10 a.m. to accommodate certain guests and other factors. So usually, again, it's at 7 p.m. on Sundays. That's Eastern Time. We also have a Tamil talk show called Vili, which are on Sundays at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. In addition, there's a monthly men's group meeting. Now, this is seriously for men by men. This is only for men. And this is on every second Saturday of every month from 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time through Zoom. There's no recordings whatsoever. You're allowed, or I would say encouraged, to come on and express yourself in whatever way you think you can, ways that you possibly wouldn't want to engage your family or members of the public with. We're non-judgmental, and we offer encouragement to get air that out of your system, which is generally therapeutic. So that's something that we encourage a lot of men to get involved with. You can join us through Zoom for that. The link is available on our Facebook page and group. There are no limitations to gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life can participate in any of our shows. If you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Our phone number is 226 289 8784. Our email address is info@voiceofmen360.org. And our website is www.voiceofmen360.org. voiceofmen360.org. Well, it's been really great having Marcus Snow on here promoting his iBallin. And we have a rather sensitive question, and he was gracious enough to accept this question. And so we ask that you understand the gravity of this question. So here goes. Um, with your overall experience what is your overall experience regarding mental health that includes PTSD, suicides, etc. in the military?
Yeah, so that is that is a pretty it's a pretty deep and pretty sensitive question, um, and I do have some experience with this. In fact, someone that is very close to me that put me on this entrepreneurship journey that I'm on, I've always kind of expressed to him, one of the few people I open up and share with about this subject, that I feel like I feel like I'm a success story in terms of handling my PSD because I learned how to cope and deal with it. Um, and my wife, Claire, here in Malaysia, she's been asking me for many years I should seek some help and get some help, and I just always internalized that and said I can battle this on my own, I can fix it on my own. Um, but it wasn't until the pressure, not the pressure, but these two forces discussing it with me, only then a couple of years ago did I only have the courage to acknowledge that I do have PTSD and that I would like to find a solution and get help for it. Um, in terms of suicide, uh, I would imagine that unfortunately many of us consider this, and I'm no different. Uh, I I haven't shared this with anyone in detail or in depth yet. I've only spoken about it twice, once acknowledging to my wife that I did attempt, and once to someone else. Um, but I can tell, I can share with you this factor that helped me. Um, Whatever I was going through at the time, um, I learned that I've accepted that I would treat that attempt as a failure and announce that it is my greatest failure to date. It's one of the things I'm proud that I failed at. And so anyone facing something like this, I would tell you, let it be your most cherished failure and start collecting days. Every day is a day that you can collect. And so my number is 5,696. Um, that's how many days I collected. And a true victory is when you can forget about collecting days and have to go back to tally them up. And so I'm happy to say that I've been forgetting what day it is until you reminded me.
Well, thank you for sharing that. We certainly appreciate that. I have one follow-up question. If you can bear with me, if you can divulge, if not, we would understand. And
Sure.
because this is such a serious issue, and I'm not talking about yourself, I'm talking
Mhm.
about your fellow military officers while you were in the service of the military. Um, this has to deal with addiction, and when I say addiction, um, one of the reasons people get into addiction, unfortunately, is through pain where they have to use opioids and whatnot. And, after I guess they go through some sort of prescription
Mhm.
process, they end up dependent, and then the opioids run out, and then they turn to whatever they can get. So I don't know if you have any experience with that, or you can share that or not with us.
There was a when I went through the military, we had a culture of treating a lot of our a lot of our symptoms with alcohol. Okay, so and of course when we go out to do these military drills and whatnot, or exercises, um, there was over issue of pain medication, but um, I suppose you could say, luckily for me or not luckily for me, there was um, there was drug addiction in my household as a child growing up, and so this is the one thing, the one area where I still clear from, because I saw firsthand what it does. In fact, when I was in special ops and they had to redo my back surgically, um, before I went off to Afghanistan, I they prescribed some heavy pain medication, to which um, I took for the first 3 or 4 days, but they subscribed it in large volumes. And so the moment that I felt like I did no longer needed it, and boy were they good, I actually flushed them down the toilet. So I've had that strength to steer clear of this. A lot of my brothers and sisters, they had to go through the process of getting clean all over again. But for me, um, I didn't have that. And we also, we as men, this is just something that we just don't talk about. So I'm actually sharing it with you, because again, I've collected up enough days to where I can feel, I can feel like it is a monkey off of my shoulders. And if it helps others to understand, I mean, I'm 6'2", 265 pounds. I'm not a small guy. So if I can share it, if I can share these vulnerabilities with others, then hopefully someone else can too. And I will add this one thing, to anyone who's going through this. Uh, Talking about it just to one person, even in passing, makes a huge difference. So I encourage everyone just to talk about it. And this is one area where social media is doing quite well, and that is, there's a lot of now mental health coaches out there online that's doing phenomenal work. So if you don't want to talk to someone about it, at least take your phone out and scroll and hear these messages like what's happening here on the Voice of Men 360.
Absolutely. Wow, that it's commendable. First of all, that you had the mental capacity to cut this off from your life. As you mentioned, unfortunately, too many of us don't have that capability, and so they have to go through this rigorous, very arduous process, very painful process of getting clean and sober. And sometimes it works, sometimes it ends up disastrously. But again, as you mentioned, social media out there, if it's one good purpose, it serves. It's
Yes.
yeah, people, you can go anonymously and air your grievances or air your problems and get help that way, if that's the only avenue that you think you can. So it's there, it's available, and whoever has those types of problems, please reach out, as you mentioned before, and talk to at least one person.
Mm.
So we've come to the end of this broadcast. It's been a pleasure having Mr. Snow on here. It was a very informative and meaningful session. And thank you so much to Marcus for making this possible. And to all the people out there, all the viewers, we thank you for joining us as well. So from us here in Toronto, Canada, good night, good evening, good morning, wherever you may be. Goodbye.